To kick things off this afternoon, we have Shannon McGarity, who is a design researcher at Cooper, which is obviously a very famous studio. She's in the New York office, which is part of the Catalyst system before. She's director of user experience there, and is going to be talking about essentially unleashing ideation and getting a lot of ideas out quickly within a team setting, and then taking all that information and being able to make use of it and kind of put it into action rather than just throwing a lot of ideas out there that go nowhere, but really taking raw ideas and turning them into action. She's a design educator as well as a designer, and we're lucky to have her. So everyone, please welcome Shannon McGarity to the stage.
Hi, everybody. Can you all hear me? Yes. Okay, great. Sometimes I don't need a mic. I'm just that loud. Okay, so hi. Thank you for that lovely intro. I'm so glad to be here today. I put a little information up on the screen because, you probably don't know me. Who is this woman? So, just to give you a little bit more background, I've been in some form of user experience for over 20 years. I have a background at various times in visual design, interaction design, content marketing, recently service design, and gosh, I left a comma there, so there's probably something yet to come. But the work I do now is as a UX practitioner, but also as a teacher. So I'm taking the stuff that I learn in my job every day and then kind of preaching what I practice. And so I teach a bunch of different workshops on service design and interaction design, et cetera. So I work for Cooper. It's a business strategy and design firm. They're located in San Francisco and New York. I'm in the New York office. This is my work family. We were out in San Francisco for a retreat. And this is the founder of our company, the two founders of our company, Sue and Alan Cooper. So you might be much more familiar with Alan Cooper, who is known as the father of Visual Basic. He's a pioneer in goal-directed design, as well as, he wrote this seminal tome on user experience called About Face. He also invented the persona, which we all use. So what do I do on a day-to-day basis? So this is a kind of a look at my practice. So lately, I taught a corporate workshop on service design at the Professional Association of Dive Instructors. I prototyped a tool to onboard LGBTQA+ teens onto a kind of online community. Helped the Yukon Foundation, a service design project, help them to basically kind of rethink the idea of annual giving fundraising. And then I redesigned this online compendia ensuring purity of US drugs for the United States Pharmacopoeia. So why are you telling me all of this? Actually, it's because this is a really diverse group of projects, and in every single one of those projects, I use creative ideation techniques. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. So that's what we're here to do today. We're here to talk about leading creative ideation. And so I do teach a workshop on this. It's about a day-long workshop. I do it for public workshops, but also for internal corporate training. And it's about a day long, and I'm trying to basically cram as much as I can into 45 minutes so that you guys get a good sense of kind of, what the high level, the high level outline is of creative ideation from the Cooper perspective. So first, a story. So I remember it pretty vividly, even though it happened a really long time ago. I worked at a company where they were doing a giant road mapping exercise, and they had really good intentions. They got a bunch of people from across the entire company, marketing, design, developers, customer service. They got all these people together and kind of divvied them up into different groups of interest. And then said, okay, at 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock on a Thursday, we're gonna each go to our separate group rooms, and we're going to brainstorm. And we were so excited because that was a real opportunity to kind of talk with people that you didn't get to talk to, et cetera. So we all walk in there. Well, I have to go to, as it turns out, my manager's office. It's a VP's office, and it looks a little bit like this. So this isn't the actual office, but it felt like that. So there were about 10 people crammed in this little room with a whiteboard that you don't see on the side. And we're sitting there, and the manager gets up, and he's like, OK, who's first? Hearts drop. And we all look a little bit like this. Our eyes are popping like goldfish. What do you mean, who's first? And it actually looked even a little bit more like this if the room were smaller and hotter and soporific. So for a long, long time, nobody really says anything, and it's painful. But eventually, we get the conversation started because of this character. This character is prepared. He's a manager. He's got a bunch of pet ideas that he's brought in his back pocket, and he is ready to share them with us. Yes. So we sit there and we listen to all of those ideas, and it's pretty inspiring. And then, eventually, one or two of us might raise our hand and be like, oh, I have an idea. And they're kind of shot down immediately. Like, oh, that can't be done. No, we've done it before. It's depressing. It feels a little bit also like an episode of Survivor. So we're hanging in there for 3 hours. And it's just like people like driving to death the same ideas over and over again. And we just walked. Oh, people checked out. They were doing crossword puzzles, maybe. I don't know. That's the way I remember it. But let's see. OK, but at the end of the day, we all walked out feeling just a little bit like this. We were deflated. We were kind of emotionally broken. We didn't, they kind of said, OK, great. Thanks for your ideas. And we're like, OK. Nobody told us what, in fact, those ideas were going to do or how they were going to be used or if they were going to be used. So there was really there was no expectation set there. So has anybody out there please tell me that you've had an experience like this, or maybe not, maybe it's a better age. OK, all right, great. So let's talk a little bit, oh, yep, has anyone had this? Yes. So let's talk a little bit about what happened, what went totally wrong. So they really did have very good intentions, and you got to applaud that. They tried to include a diverse group of people, but you get to the bad pretty quickly. It was uninspiring, poorly framed. We were totally blanking. We didn't know what to do. We felt intimidated, so the managers kind of won out, and people showed up with their pet ideas. But then it gets to the progressively worse, the ugly. So there was no sense of what came next. And the process of, it just kind of burnt us out on the idea of brainstorming in general. Nobody understood the value of it. But the most important thing was that there was no framework. Overall, there was just nothing there. We just walked in and there was chaos. So that's what we're here to do today. You can have the best of intentions, but if you don't have a framework, your brainstorming, your ideation is going to go off the rails. And that's what we're here to talk about today, is getting a better sense. I can't do all of the things. I can't tell you all of the strategies, et cetera, but we can kind of high-level approach how some ideas around ideation and give you a sense of where to focus. So we'll talk a little bit, we'll level set a little bit about what those fundamentals are from my perspective through my practice at Cooper. We'll talk about the 3 steps to great ideation, and then finally, bonus, when brainstorming goes wrong. Apologies for the clickbaity title, but we need strategies to actually get through those moments when somebody stands up and says, no, I'm not interested. So fundamentals, what, why, where, when, how. So what is ideation? So really the most important part is that you're generating ideas and you're generating them very, very quickly. It's a really great way for an organization to get buy-in across silos. So the idea that you're bringing in a developer to talk to a marketing person, to talk to potentially a designer, that's a really great opportunity. It's also this really amazing tool for us to zoom out. And we're all kind of mired in the tactical and the day-to-day, but to give yourself that time to be more strategic is really amazing. So why ideate? It's just the thing that makes innovation possible. So if you're doing the same thing all the time, you're not going to be thinking new thoughts or making new connections. See. OK, So you can't make new things without new thinking. That's critical. So what is that new thinking? It's lateral thinking. And maybe it isn't new from a chronological perspective. This gentleman, Edward de Bono, invented the term in 1967 around the idea that if you walk through your average way of kind of making decisions and coming up with ideas in a very kind of linear way, you're going to get a really expected result. But if you kind of throw a little bit of entropy into the mix, you're going to come up with a much bigger and different idea than the ones that you've already started with. So, I could go into kind of the theoretical ideas around lateral thinking, but this is what I always think of. I think about this cartoon that I used to watch or read when I was little. It's about, are you familiar with the family circus? Not just Ohio thing? Okay, so it's this suburban family, and the mom is forever telling Billy over there in the corner, come right home. And he's like, sure, Mom. So he'll start out, and then you'll see him like, I'm talking to the postman guy, or petting the dog next door, or checking somebody else's mailbox, and then he finally gets home. And the thing is that Billy totally encapsulates my ideas around lateral thinking, which is that guy, he knows that the meandering path home is kind of the magic path, and it's the fun path. And I'll come back to that in a second, but creative ideation should be fun. Sorry, it should not be a job. In fact, so I was, speaking of the meandering path home, I was on a train home with these two characters, Tammy and Cam, and we were coming back from a project in DC, and I was talking about the connection between lateral thinking and the family circus. And Cam was like, oh, well, wasn't it Mark Twain who said that he'd take a different route home from work every day so that, to inspire new thinking? And I said, I don't know, but I'm going to look it up on Google. So I did, and then instead I found, come on, do I have to stand closer? Yes. Oh, geez, wait. Stepping on my slides. Okay, cool. So this guy also said, what work I have done, I've done because it has been play. If it had been work, I shouldn't have done it. I believe in that in a major way. And we think about that a lot in the work that we do at Cooper. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. I just clicked it once. Yes. Okay, sweet. So it's actually borne out by feedback that we get from our clients. So basically, this developer very recently was saying how much he really enjoyed the process of being brought in and asked to ideate with designers and customer service people, et cetera. And it's really about not only consensus, but he mentioned fun. Okay, great. That's wonderful. And why is fun so important? It's because we think that people are more creative and creative when they're happy and relaxed, right? So who ideates? In my practice, we do ideation in workshops. We facilitate workshops for teams for our clients, but of course, it's done internally, in-house at in-house companies. But then also you've got design teams and individuals, so we incorporate it in our daily practice. Sometimes we'll do ideation techniques with just 2 people sitting in the room. And then finally, with users and focus groups, so we'll do labs and have customers come and help contribute their ideas. Okay, so when do we ideate? This is just a very basic Cooper outline of kind of how a project is broken down: discovery, describe, design, deliver. And the takeaway here is that you can do it in all of these different areas. You can do it when you're trying to figure out what is the problem that you're trying to solve, but you can also use it when you're working on solutions, actual solutions in the design phase. So it's applicable across all of these things, but I don't think we always do it in all of these different phases. So is there any right way to ideate? No. I love to look for inspiration from a lot of different sources. So, so we do the design studio method a lot at Cooper, but we also, I went to this really great conference where this woman from Puppet talked about design jams, or we've brought in like little pieces of process from the Google Ventures Sprint book. There's so many different tools, and I just urge you to like go out and look for those tools and know that I'm doing the same thing and trying to reincorporate them and innovate on them. So let's talk about the 3 steps to ideation. They're super broad. The first one is set the tone. And how do we do that? I'm going to tell you in a second. I kind of wonder if I should just go stand by the computer and make that happen. Let's see. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So it's all about really creating cultivating a creative culture. And a lot of us don't have that. Maybe you do because you're information architects and designers, but a lot of people don't, and so we have to be really intentional about making that psychological space for innovation. So how do you do that? Well, first step is be prepared, and there are a bunch of different steps that you can do to kind of become more prepared. Okay, I'll just stand here. So let's start out by inviting the right people and setting expectations. So if you're if you're a consultant or in-house, make sure that all the people that have a vested interest in that particular product or the problem you're trying to solve, make sure they're there. And sometimes maybe include the overlooked people that are a little bit quieter and that haven't really kind of voiced a desire. Make sure that you're looking not only broadly, but also up and down the chain. So, a junior designer to a top-level exec. Host on neutral territory. This kind of can't be stressed enough either. A lot of times, for instance, as you saw earlier, we had to walk into my manager's office, a VP, a place where sometimes people get fired in that room. People have bad news delivered to them there, or are told what to do. Try to, not all of us have this amazing, my former client, Smallbox, they had this amazing renovated library that their office was in. They had gorgeous murals. We don't all have that. And we certainly don't all have like a pool to look out at like I did at Patty. But oftentimes we do have giant boardrooms that we can kind of co-opt to our purposes. And a lot of times we can create those war rooms, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have. But there's some things that we can do, even if you don't have those things. You can run it in a well-lit space, someplace where it hasn't been, marked territory for the people that, the kind of maybe more, powerful people in your organization. So make sure that it's neutral. And this sounds ridiculous, but supply the materials. It's not just the markers. It's not just the stickies. We supply toys, and snacks cannot be underestimated either. If you're going to be doing that for 3 hours, you had best come prepared with granola bars. So in the same vein of preparation, and kind of the more meaningful preparation, is making sure that you've articulated the problem really well, and that you know who the problem is being solved for. So making sure that you have personas or user journeys and a prompt to make sure that people understand what it is that we're actually solving for today. This is an example of some models that I brought to my client at UConn. We just made sure that they had personas. We made sure that they had the user journeys there. And finally, in the service of preparation, create a parking lot. Not everybody does this, but it's a really great way to capture those ideas that are not specific to the problem that you're actually solving. Because that creative ideation, you're coming up with a bunch of ideas, and nobody's saying that there has to be a certain kind of way to think. So if they aren't working, if those ideas aren't working for the problem that you're trying to solve, put them in the parking lot or put them in the ice box. They'll keep. So another way that we can kind of gear up and prep for ideation is making sure that we normalize risk. What does that mean? So for instance, if I came in here today and I had a toothbrush and I stood here and I was like, just brushing my teeth. You guys would all think that was pretty weird. You think it's weird that I brought it up, probably. But, however, if I passed out toothbrushes and toothpaste and said, hey, I'm going to put on some music, I'm going to shut the doors, and guys, we're going to have a hygiene break together, and it's going to be amazing, and I did it with that inflection, come on, would you not be sold on a hygiene break with the toothbrushing? And you wouldn't feel bad about yourself, right? You wouldn't feel nervous or like, we're all doing this weird thing together. So just making sure that, if we're all doing something that's a little, silly or different, that let's all do something silly or different that, can't get us fired and foster creativity. So one way that we incorporate play towards the end goal of normalizing risk is, this is a picture of this gentleman, Brady Gill. He is a founder of a place called Camp Grounded. And it's a place where adults get away from technology. They can disconnect and kind of get in touch with those childlike aspects. And so we had him come in and do, basically facilitate a day of play for us at a retreat this year. And we've taken away a lot of the really excellent ideas that he had for us there and brought them to, our growing base of icebreakers, et cetera. And when I'm talking about icebreakers, I'm not just saying, hey, let's all talk about a fun fact when we introduce ourselves in the kickoff meeting. I'm talking about, improv and things that make you get out of your seat and that kind of make you live in your body a little bit while, you're having this brainstorming experience. So this is him actually doing this excellent and kind of, it feels corny, but awesome exercise where he asks us all to think about our little haters. We all have a little hater inside, somebody who talks about, who says, oh, you're not doing it right, or you're not creative, or, you're so stupid and you didn't figure out that, you have to get closer to the, laptop so that your clicker will work. So he tells you, okay, great, we all have that person. Let's all, and then he makes everybody stand up. Oh, okay, let's everybody stand up for 1 second. No, I'm asking. It's gonna feel weird, guys, but you're gonna think about the things that inner voice does, and you're gonna kind of grab your chest, you're gonna mimic your chest, and then I'm gonna say, I don't know, which way is the East River? Who knows? Great, East River that way. So what we're all gonna do on the count of 3, we are all gonna take the little hater and jettison him or her all the way to the East River. So 1, 2, 3. Ugh. Okay, didn't you feel just a little bit better? It made me feel better because we're all doing it together. So everybody can sit back down for a second. Okay, so another thing that we do to normalize risk is we have a set of engagements. There's often a poster when people walk into an ideation session. There's a poster. What should they expect? How should they act? Some of the most frequently cited are quantity over quality. Wild equals better, so don't be constrained by what can and can't happen. Build on the ideas of others. So no no's, or try to be positive. Use that kind of yes and mentality that you hear a lot about. But my favorite one, none of us are artists, but all of us can draw. So in creative ideation, yeah, we all have to kind of draw stuff to get our ideas out, and this is a huge problem. I don't know if you've experienced this, but growing into an adult, let's talk about being a kid. As a kid, we draw pictures. And we're like, isn't this the most amazing picture of a rainbow you've ever seen? And it doesn't look like a rainbow. I mean, I don't know what it looks like. It looks like an upside down frown, whatever. But we have a belief in ourselves and a confidence. But not as adults, and maybe you as people that are, that are drawing, et cetera, all the time, you have that familiarity. But if you're trying to facilitate, help somebody else feel like, drawing is worthwhile, then you have to do some kind of activity that loosens people up. And that is the next activity. So ordinarily, pretty much in all ideation sessions, I do a sketch aerobics warm-up. And that's what we're gonna do today. So basically, I put markers on every seat and also stickies. And what we do here, I'm not going to go totally aggro full headband. I think I'm just going to go wristband. Yeah. I think that's what I did for USP as well. So what we're going to do, what we're going to do is we're going to do this excellent exercise where I'm going to turn on some music, and you're going to listen to everything I say and do what I say. OK, so ready? Let's see if the music works. Oh, yeah, it does. OK, everybody, so take one sticky, divide it into 4 quadrants. OK. All right, now that you've got it separated into 4 quadrants, we're going to take that first to upper left-hand quadrant, and we're going to draw lines. We're going to fill it with lines, people. Work the marker. Don't let the marker work you. I'm totally, going to be your aggro spin instructor right now, so start drawing lines. Make the lines happen. There's no right way to do this. OK, we're moving on to the next quadrant, upper right. We're going to do circles, people. Big circles, little circles, circles inside of circles. I want to see, this is your time. Show us the best circles that you can. Don't waste this. If it doesn't hurt, it isn't worth it. All right, next quadrant, squares. Squares, everybody. I mean, it can be rectangles. Don't be constrained. But make it be a four-sided object. Excellent. And now we're going to do triangles. Moving on to triangles. OK, everybody, this is a tough one. Isosceles, scalene, equilateral. There's so many to choose from. How will you do it? All right. Excellent. OK, here's the bonus round. You're going to look on the next sticky. I think I gave each person 2. So now you're going to look at a person next to you. Pick a partner. And you're going to draw that person using only the geometry that we just practiced. Lines, circles, squares, triangles. You didn't see that coming? Come on. I'm going to give you a minute, even though I think I only have 3 left. Is that possible? Make it work, people. Okay, you've got like 20 more seconds left. Okay, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay, so it probably looks a little bit something like this, no? So what I want you to do is in the upper left-hand corner, write the name of the person who you sketched. And then the lower right, or upper left, is the name of the person you sketched. And the lower right, you're John Hancock, your artist's signature. And so what I would like you to do after this is over, if you could do me the favor of putting them up on the wall just to the left of the theater, that'd be really awesome. It's a good photo op, and it's really fun to actually look at other people's work. So this is a way that we get people really warmed up. And the next exercise we do to warm them up is we kind of get at the idea we reference the idea that there are bad ideas. And this gets you closer to the work and the problem that you're going to be solving that day. And so yeah, we create a safe space with a bad idea contest. So basically, we sit everybody down. Yep, we sit everybody down and make them talk about their, put on paper their 8 worst ideas about that particular problem we're trying to solve. And ultimately, I'm running out of time. But it ends up looking like this, and it's not just to warm people up, but it's a way to really, you can take those bad ideas and turn them into solution gold. And you can do that by doing the exact opposite of what that bad idea is, or you can be warned away from dangerous territory. So in this situation, we took those bad ideas and grouped them together and affinity mapped them, and they provided a path that, a group of ideals that we wanted to kind of avoid. So it seems like I am, I can keep going, sweet. Okay, great. So where are you going to aim the fire hose? Now that you've got all of, you've got this creative energy generated, how are you going to kind of, frame this? You're going to use the right tools. And all the tools that I'm going to talk about here today, they're going to be, you can't use them all at once. I'm just kind of giving you an overview. And I'm going to zip through them. So you need to have a bunch of tools at your disposal. We do why-how laddering. We do stimulus and pass the sketch. Plus, we create custom games and worksheets for people that need a little bit more rails, tighter rails. So we use these in different situations. The first one, why-how laddering. I could go into it in so much more detail, but it's basically to validate what problem that we're trying to solve. So knowing when to ask why, which broadens your scope, and then knowing when to ask how, and if you want a more defined, focused, set of ideas. And I go into this in much more detail. Why laddering. And I think you'll probably get these as slides later. And then how laddering. So, and I use an example on the right, for Cooper Professional Education. Oh, great. Cool. So on the right side, like this is an example of how we start out with a problem statement. And we need to create a new course for our customers. If you ask the question how, you might get another idea, which is invite a thought leader that we respect to teach the course. And then your new problem statement might show up. So how might we identify a thought leader to teach a course? And that's going to gin up a bunch of different solutions. So in other situations, sometimes we get stuck. And in that case, we use stimulus. There are lots of different kinds of stimulus. There's imagery. There are questions. There are words that we can use. So here's some examples of imagery, and also what-if statements and word prompts. And these word prompts might actually be words that are part of your brand attributes list. And this shows you how to do it. I'm not going to go into detail. One really cool thing, has anybody been to the Cooper Hewitt lately? It's awesome, right? This thing is amazing. They don't even need a facilitator. They just created this amazing exhibit that asks you to, it's called citizen design. And basically, it's an ideation exhibit. You walk in and it asks you to, solve a problem by using stimulus. So here's my brother. He's already chosen his problem. And then you get to pick your 2 stimulus cards and then figure out where basically where these fresh ideas can come from, like by combining those 2 different techniques or tactics. And that's what it looks like, once you've finished your ideation. You put it in a slot. It's great. You should go. It's open till May. Another situation, you want to push ideas further, pass the sketch. So if you're having problems coming up with ideas on your own or you're stuck, this is a really great tool. Some people can't ideate by themselves, can't originate an idea, but they can certainly add on to somebody else's idea. So this is a really great tool for that. And you can do it in small groups with just 2 people as a design team, but you can also do it. You can also do it as a giant group. So this was my colleague Andrew. He went to Buenos Aires and did it as a giant exercise with his leading creative ideation class. another situation. Sometimes we feel like our participants need more coaching or time or constraints. And so that's where custom games and worksheets come in. This particular one we did for Planned Parenthood for the teens that I was talking about earlier. So basically we asked teens to pretend like they were responding to an ad in a newspaper as their ideal facilitator. So we set up this advertisement and then asked them to fill out this job application as if they were their ideal facilitator. And so it was really great because it might have been really hard with teens to kind of focus and and provide a safe space to be able to kind of generate these ideas. But it was just, everybody had a great time. They walked out of there, and we got some really amazing information from that. We also did this, did this set of worksheets to allow teens to ideate around what a good credit card experience was. And finally, there's the evaluation of ideas. And at least I'll have gotten to this point in the presentation because it's really important to let you guys know that I feel that evaluation of ideas should happen later. I think Google Venture Sprint also kind of talks about that as well. But trying to keep those two things separate, you've just done a ton of work. I just got you guys all limbered up creatively. But then to go and evaluate the ideas and say how they're bad or not working, or it's counterproductive, we found. So when they walk out of the room, out of the ideation that day, you let them know, okay, we're going to actually come back and we're going to evaluate these ideas. Or maybe as designers, we're going to go back and look at these ideas and do some more work on it and then bring them back to you, and you're going to evaluate from there. So just making sure that they know that they didn't just waste 3 hours of their day. Deferred judgment when ideating. So finally, there are a number of different evaluation methods. You can use them in combo. Sometimes we do, dot voting and matrix, et cetera. But these are the three: dot voting, matrix, and scoring grids. What? Making me sad. Okay, cool. Really quickly, dot voting, just making sure that it's a quick, light, easy way for people to register approval of an idea, or just to make sure that people understand broadly where you'd like to focus. And then you've got the matrix, so assessing and comparing ideas against criteria. We did this, high impact versus low impact ideas, ease of implementation versus hard to implement. I did this with UConn. So basically coming up with all of these ideas for how to rethink annual giving and then plotting them on a board. They were like, oh, these are too many ideas. We need to prioritize them. And we're like, yeah, you do have to prioritize them. So we put them on this grid and then created kind of then subsection that grid out a little bit and took basically all the things that happen up here in the most desirable and in the high impact area. That's the low hanging fruit. You put that, you start there, and then you create a roadmap that, well, you probably stay away from here, but probably up here, right, is kind of where this is your pathway forward. And so basically we ended up with this great road mapping document that allowed them to kind of get a sense of what they thought and what we thought was actionable in those ideas that we created. We do scoring grids, so really? So we do scoring grids. Yeah, I'm going to push the button. That's okay. Scoring grids. So basically taking an idea and doing this in groups. Don't do it by yourself. Do it in a group, because the value of this exercise is in the conversation. So, basically taking an idea and then registering, coming up with a number, value of the organization, value to the customer, the ease of implementation, and then registering what that gut feeling is about, that unidentifiable feeling that you're just like, this project, or this idea, it's so good. And again, it's so much about the conversation that you're going to have there, and we don't ever tally these numbers up, by the way, because again, it's about that kind of that communication that you're having and that dialogue with people that you don't generally have those conversations with. And we did it in a bunch of different ways. There is no one way to do all of these different strategies. So pitfalls and tips. Do I have time, or should I? Okay. things are going to go wrong. Do not panic. I have panicked. Don't do that. What if a person refuses to participate? This is a coworker of mine. He was grumpy about this hat. So let them refuse. I had an exec who was like, I don't understand. We've got all these people in this room, and they're important, and why are we doing this right now? And we had to walk aside and say, okay, you know what, there was a little bit of bargaining that happened, and then we carved out time at the end of the day to do that activity that he wanted to do. So you can let them refuse, you can negotiate, you can deflect attention, so I can just walk away if it's, the right person to walk away from. And then you can just avoid this from the get-go by, anticipating challenges and making sure that you've identified the right people to walk in the door. So what if a few people dominate? We all know those people. I think I was one of those people once. So you can call. You're running the show here. You call on the people that you want to hear from and those quiet people. Provide individual ideation time so everybody gets to contribute. It's not just all the loudest voice wins. Facilitate how ideas are shared in a very ordered way. So maybe not all of this one person's ideas. Spread it out a little bit, and then work the room. And then for that guy who walks in with his pet ideas, it's analogous to the parking lot, but you could create a pet sitter and have everybody walk in the door and say, what's your pet idea? I know you have a pet idea. Why don't you put it right here? That can kind of diffuse a lot of the situation from kind of wanting to dig that hole deeper and deeper. And then do your homework. Just make sure. Make sure that you've got the right people in the room. So, and finally, what if energy is low and flagging? So I always do it with different warm-up exercises. We do Rochambeau contests. This one particularly was done at USP, and this is proof that people in a corporate setting can, get on board with this kind of icebreaker, activity. This is Ranger, Hunter, Bear. That they're doing right now, and it's a version of rock, paper, scissors. Get snacks, hangry's real, and we do stretching and posture breaks as well. So we have my design partner is also a certified yoga instructor, so we end up making people do yoga, and they actually like it. But also, we didn't come up with this. This was Smallbox. They do planks as a way to kind of break time up. I'm done now. So thank you for letting me speak today. Let's stay connected. Thank you. Thank you. And as they said before, we're having, for all the participants today, we've got a 20% off discount for any Cooper professional education classes use that code. And that's where you can kind of do that research. So thanks a lot. I appreciate your time.